Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari unveils 1 billion naira TET fund projects in Ekiti varsities. Federal government says 2,246 Nigerians evacuated from Sudan. Plus, Israel apologizes for death of Al Jazeera journalists 1 year after. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news tonight is a report that President Muhammad Buhari today inaugurated 6 tertiary education projects at the Bamidele Olumilua University of Education, Science and Technology, Ikere Ekiti, Ekiti State University Ado Ekiti, and Federal University Oye Ekiti. Buhari, represented by the Minister of Industry and Trade, Adeniyi Adebayo, during the inauguration of the projects at Ikere Ekiti, Ado Ekiti and Oye Ekiti, said the commissioning of the projects at the universities would, in no small measure, further enhance teaching and learning and improvement of academic standards. The President said that TET Fund, through federal government support, had performed exceptionally in infrastructure provision and support for academic staff training and development, among others, to tertiary institutions. Meanwhile, President Buhari has moved into the glass house at the presidential villa Abuja ahead of the inauguration of the president-elect Bola Tinubu. Recall that the iconic residence has served as a transitional abode for the outgoing president and their spouse during the handover period, and has also traditionally played a crucial role in the transition of power, providing a symbolic and practical space for the outgoing president and their spouse. The First Lady Aisha Buhari disclosed this in a video on her Instagram page after showing the incoming First Lady Senator Remi Tinubu around the State House. The outgoing First Lady also expressed her opinion that the House should maintain its long-standing practice of accommodating only the incumbent president and their spouse during the transition period. Away from that, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission (NIDCOM) says a total of 2,246 Nigerians have so far been evacuated from Sudan. Head of Media, Public Relations and Protocols Unit of NIDCOM, Abdul 3. He said on May 3, 94 evacuees comprising 78 males and 16 females boarded NAV C-130 plane, while 274 boarded Air Peace plane from Aswan Airport, Egypt. Balogun said on May 5, 130 Nigerians also boarded Taco Airline, while on May 6, 131 evacuees boarded the same airline from Port Sudan, with 102 boarding the same airline Air, both flights from Aswan Airport on Sunday. In the meantime, the federal government has projected to rack in 647.7 billion naira from the concessioning of 2 power projects, e-ticketing of 2 rail routes, and the device management system DMS. This is contained in a statement from the Infrastructure Concession and Regulatory Commission (ICRC) by Acting Head Media and Publicity Ifeanyi Nwoko. The 2 power projects are the 360 megawatts Gurara 2 multi-purpose dam and hydropower plant and the 40 megawatts Kashim. Others are the concession of the secure e-ticketing solutions for the Lagos-Ibadan rail service and the Warri-Itape rail service, as well as the device management system, a project by the Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC). Meanwhile, the federal government said it had embarked on reform programs to encourage the establishment. It had been responsible for multiple taxation, which had been causing confusion within the system. The Minister for FCT, Mohammed Bello, stated this at the stakeholders' resolution retreat on harmonization of revenue collection and promotion of ease of doing business in the FCT held in Akure, the Ondo State capital. Represented by the Permanent Secretary FCT Olushade Adeshola, the minister said the reform programs would include the implementation of a digital platform for the issuance of permits, licenses, and approvals, known as the FCT Business Portal. In the meantime, federal government has approved for implementation of the first Nigeria Investment Policy (NINP). The government also adopted a new National Automotive Industry Development Plan (NADIP) that would span through Adeni Adebayo, who said both policies were approved at the recent meeting of the Federal Executive Council (FEC), which was presided over by Vice President Yemi Banjo. The minister maintained that the investment policy would give investors more comfort and attract more investment into the economy. Meanwhile, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, has urged insurance operators in West Africa to reposition the industry for global competitiveness. The minister gave the urge at the West African Insurance Companies Association Educational Conference in Lagos State. Ahmed, while speaking on the conference's theme, repositioning the insurance industry in West Africa for global competitiveness, said the objective behind the African Continental Free Trade Area is to accelerate intra-African trade by providing a single market for goods and services, facilitate movement of persons in order to deepen the economic integration and prosperity on the continent, as well as boosting Africa's trading position in the global market by strengthening Africa's common voice and policy space in global trade negotiations. She emphasized the need to establish high-quality insurance database to provide a holistic view of the industry's operations in the sub-region. In the meantime, the federal government is partnering with investors to deploy 5 million solar power connections in communities that are not connected to the national electricity grid. Under its Solar Power Niger program, the government, through the Rural Electrification Agency (REA), held an investor matchmaking event in Abuja to provide the opportunity for potential investors to pitch their financial offerings to developers. The agency stated the rollout of 5 million new solar connections in off-grid communities. Reports say the REA is the implementing agency of the federal government under the Federal Ministry of Power, tasked with the electrification of unserved and underserved communities to boost economic growth through the supply of electricity. So to judiciary now, where Justice Hamza Muazu of an Abuja High Court today held that the court has jurisdiction to entertain a suit filed by some members of the Labour Party LP. The suit is seeking the removal of the chairman of the party, Julius Abure, the National Organizing Secretary, Clement Ojukwu, and National Treasurer, Oluchi Okpara. Justice Muazu held that it was no longer the law that the court cannot adjudicate in political parties' matters. The judge further held that if the party had been at peace with itself, there would not be any need for the court to interfere in its affairs. In a separate development, the Director of Legal Department, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, Nelson Orji, has said that the gestation is ill-conceived. Orji noted that a federal high court also sitting in Abuja had earlier given a contrary decision that the NBC had the power to impose sanctions on airing stations According to him, Justice Maha in April 2022 had ruled in a case brought against NBC by 7 organizations led by the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project. In a certified true copy of the judgment made available to newsmen, Justice Maha said that the 1992 NBC Act permits the Commission to determine and apply sanctions, including revocation of licenses of defaulting stations which do not operate in accordance with the Broadcast Code and in public interest. In a related development, the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC) says it will appeal a ruling by a Federal High Court, Abuja, nullifying its powers to impose fines on airing broadcast stations. NBC's reaction to the Wednesday ruling by Justice James Omotosho is contained in a statement signed by its Director General, Balarabe Shehu Leila. Omotosho, while ruling on a suit filed by Incorporated Media Rights Agenda, declared that which gives the Commission the power to impose a sanction was in conflict with Section 6 of the Constitution, which vested judicial powers in the court of law. He added that the NBC, not being Nigeria police, had no power to conduct a criminal investigation that would lead to criminal trial and imposition of sanctions. But the NBC, in the statement today in Abuja, said it had applied for a certified copy of the judgment. In the meantime, the Chief Justice of Nigeria and Chairman Board of Governors of the National Judicial Institute, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, has said that a secure maritime domain is vital to economic development and advancement. It is known in Lagos at the 3rd edition of the Nigerian Admiralty Law Colloquium for Justices of the Supreme Court and Court of Appeal and Judges of the Federal High Court. Ariwola, who was represented by Justice Musa Mohammed, expressed satisfaction with the 2023 edition of the Nigerian Admiralty Law Colloquium, adding that the program was tailored towards effective and efficient adjudication of cases, as well as curbing the menace of piracy within the Gulf of Guinea. On electoral matters now, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) says it will publish the personal particulars of candidates in the 3 off-cycle governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states scheduled for November 11, 2023. The electoral body made this known in a statement signed by its spokesman, Festus Okoye. He said that they also confirmed that all the political parties sponsoring candidates for the 3 elections have submitted the duly completed forms EC9 containing personal particulars supported by sworn affidavits, as well as EC9B containing the names of their candidates. In another development, the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC) has lauded the Senate over moves to probe the agency's account from 2021 to 2022 for illegal spending of 1.4 trillion naira. In a statement by the Director of Corporate Affairs (NDDC) Ibitoye Abosede, the agency appreciated the concerns expressed by the Senate during its plenary. Abosede said the agency respected the oversight functions of the Senate and is ready to cooperate with the investigation committee. Recall that the Senate had at its session on Tuesday constituted an ad hoc committee to probe the financial activities of the NDDC for 2021 and 2022 budget estimates. The Senate also stood down consideration of the 2023 budget of the NDDC for further information and clarification on the figures contained in the budget. Elsewhere, Ijaw National Congress (INC) has appealed to the federal government to wade into the boundary crisis occasioned by the ongoing move by the Akwa Ibom government to adjust the boundaries of Ijaw communities in the state today. The group appealed to the Chief of the Defense Staff (CDS) to check the ongoing invasion of Isnobolo communities by troops of the Nigerian Army and Nigerian Navy at the instance of the Akwa Ibom state government. It urged the CDS to also ensure their operations conformed to the military's rule of engagement. The president of INC, Professor Benjamin Okabine, who spoke in an interview with newsmen, said that mapping and boundary adjustment were on the exclusive legislative list and therefore not the responsibility of the Akwa Ibom government. New Twitter CEO to stay with us.
Of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on Channel 421 on StarTimes to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories on how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by gross level. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court, my lord.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian. From issues on politics,
Hello, Nigeria. I remain committed.
security, Ms. Kobum and Uyai Anyekan every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
With Kenya, Ethiopia and Somalia, aid aimed at tackling the causes of instability in the region. Speaking to Newsman, UK Security Minister Tom Tugendhat said the agreement worth some $12.5 million will support the three countries to come up with policies in their fight against terrorism. This is the first time high-level officials from Ethiopia, Kenya and Somalia have accepted international support to address a common problem along their borders. These borderlands are usually isolated and insecure, which makes it difficult for countries to monitor threats. According to reports, the militants have carried out a series of attacks within the region in recent terror-related incidents. Still in Africa, the United Nations World Food Programme WFP is appealing for urgent funds to provide rapid food assistance to more than 2 million people in Chad. WFP Country Director in Chad, Pierre Honorat, said he expected to provide for 30,000 refugees who had crossed to Chad to flee the recent fighting in Sudan. The WFP warned that food for refugees and internally displaced people in Chad would come to a halt this month due to financial difficulties. In a separate warning, the WFP said hunger is set to hit a record high in Sudan, with an additional 2.5 million people affected by the ongoing bloodshed. Meanwhile, Mozambique has scrapped duties and the requirement for import licenses for basic food items in an effort to reduce the cost of food in a renewed cost of living crisis. The measures followed the setting up of a government task force to investigate spiraling food prices. According to the Famine Early Warning Systems Network, FuseNet, a global network of partners reporting on food insecurity, bread, sugar, and wheat flour prices increased by about 20%. Using the official exchange rate, the Zimbabwe dollar has dropped 32% in value against the US dollar since the beginning of April. However, on the black market, it has fallen by almost double that. Meanwhile, the government blames business for using the black market rate to price their goods. In the meantime, Sudan's warring factions early today committed to protect civilians and the movement of humanitarian aid, but did not agree to a ceasefire and remain far apart. Reports say after a week of talks in the Saudi port of Jeddah, Sudan's army and rival paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF) signed a declaration that they would work towards a short-term ceasefire and further discussions. Meanwhile, a U.S. State Department statement said the parties would focus on reaching a deal for an effective ceasefire of up to about 10 days. Elsewhere, South African officials have hit back at U.S. accusations that a sanctioned Russian ship had picked up weapons from a naval base near Cape Town late last year, a move investors feared could lead Washington to imposing sanctions. Recall that the U.S. ambassador to South Africa said on Thursday he was confident that a Russian ship uploaded weapons from the Simonstown naval base in December, suggesting. Still in Africa, the East African Community (EAC) has urged Democratic Republic of Congo's leader to respect regional states' move to deploy forces in an attempt to stabilize eastern parts of the country. EAC Secretary General Peter Mathuki said he had not received any communication regarding former President of the Democratic Republic of the Congo Felix Tshisekedi's complaints, saying any issues raised would be discussed by EAC heads of state. Recall that President Tshisekedi had accused the East African force of not doing its job, warning that if the job is not done by June, it would be asked to leave DR Congo. He also accused the force of colluding. France's highest court has ruled that the country could try foreign suspects under the universal jurisdiction principle, green-lighting inquiries into 2 Syrians accused of war crimes and crimes against humanity. According to the Court of Cassation in a statement, the court recognizes the principle of universal jurisdiction for the French judiciary in 2 cases concerning Syria. Reports say the decision allows for investigations to continue in the cases against former Syrian soldier Abdul Hamid Chaban, charged with complicity in crimes against humanity, and Majdi Nema, a former, were arrested in France in 2019, and Nema, who was detained while on a studying trip to the southern French city of Marseille the following year, denied any wrongdoing. Still on the foreign scene now, the French Foreign Minister Catherine Colonna said Iran today released 2 French citizens jailed in separate cases, and they are both now returning to France. She added that Bernard Phelan, who also holds Irish nationality, and Benjamin Briere were freed from their prison in the northeastern city of Mashhad and are on their way to France. The pair were among some 24 foreigners jailed in Iran who campaigners see as hostages held in a deliberate strategy by Tehran to extract concessions from the West. Phelan, age 64, a Paris-based travel consultant, was arrested in October by his family. Briere, age 37, was first detained while traveling in Iran in May 2020 and later sentenced to 8 years in prison for espionage. Away from that, Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin today invited Russia's defense minister to visit the embattled eastern Ukrainian city of Bakhmut to assess the situation in the area. Prigozhin has ramped up complaints about his own mercenary fighters' battlefield setbacks and blamed the lack of ammunition to take Bakhmut on the Russian Ministry of Defense, pointing at Shoigu and Russian Army Chief Valery Gerasimov. Reports say the private military company boss has in recent days complained that areas captured by his fighters around Bakhmut at the expense of heavy casualties are now being lost to the Ukrainians. In the meantime, the epicenter of fighting with Russia for months, police in the Russian city of St. Petersburg have created a new anti-drone unit to detect unmanned aerial vehicles following a purported drone attack on the Kremlin earlier this month. Reports say the unit launched on May 9 during the annual World War II Victory Day celebrations on St. Petersburg's Palace Square. The unit will include officers armed with sniper rifles and cabins, groups trained to neutralize unmanned aerial vehicles, and mobile patrols to detain those suspected of operating drones. And while Russia said today it had repelled Ukrainian attacks along a 95-kilometer stretch of front near the symbolic city of Bakhmut as an anticipated Ukrainian offensive looms. Elsewhere, a Pakistani court ordered former Prime Minister Imran Khan's release on bail for 2 weeks, according to his lawyer today, following an arrest that sparked deadly unrest in the nuclear-armed nation. The arrest, ruled invalid and unlawful by the Supreme Court a day earlier, fueled instability in the nation of 220 million at a time of economic crisis with record inflation, anemic growth, and delayed IMF funding. Khan arrived amid tight security at the court in Islamabad today as his supporters clashed with police elsewhere in the capital. According to reports, nearly 2,000 people have been arrested for violence since Khan's detention on Tuesday, and at least 8 people have been killed. Still on the foreign scene, the Israel military and the Israel Defense Forces have apologized for the untimely death of Al Jazeera's journalist Shirin Abu Akleh. This apology is coming 1 year after Akleh was shot dead while covering an Israeli military operation in Jenin in the occupied West Bank, with another journalist, Ali al-Samoudi, who was also shot. Speaking with newsmen, Israel's Defense Forces chief spokesman Daniel Hagari said he thinks it was an opportunity for him to say that they are very sorry for the death of Shirin Abu Akleh. Meanwhile, the apology is coming days after the Committee to Protect Journalists, CPJ, published a report stating that no accountability was taken by the Israeli military over the killings of at least 20 journalists over the past 2 decades. And while the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, has been convicted of speeding days after King Charles III's coronation, reports say he was ordered to pay £510 in total for exceeding a 20-mile-per-hour limit near Lambeth Palace on 2nd October last year. The 67-year-old was also handed 3 penalty points after being caught by a speed camera in his Volkswagen Golf on the A3036 Albert Embankment. He admitted the offence online and was handed a £300 fine and ordered to pay a £120 victim surcharge and £90 in costs. According to reports, the prosecution was conducted through the single justice procedure, which allows the court to deal with the matter through written evidence in a private hearing. Meanwhile, the Archbishop has tried to resolve this and pay the fine 3 times.
Thank you, Xavier Robert. Good evening. It's business news, and my name is Blyden Okem. In the news, Elon Musk has named a new chief executive of Twitter, just over 6 months after his controversial takeover of a social media company. The billionaire said Linda Yaccarino, the former head of advertising at NBC Universal, would oversee business operation at the site, which has been struggling to make money. He said she would start in 6 weeks. Mr. Musk will remain involved as executive chairman and chief technology officer. Regarding Africa's crude oil production, Angola displaced Nigeria as Africa's largest crude oil producer last month. According to April's oil production data from the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, Nigeria produced 999,000 barrels per day for the month, behind Angola, which produced 1.06 million barrels per day during the period. Nigeria tied in second place with Algeria, which also produced 999,000 barrels per day in April based on direct communications. However, secondary sources stated that Nigeria produced 1.18 million barrels per day, making the country the largest oil producer in Africa, while Angola trailed in second place with 1.08 million barrels per day. Algeria was ranked third with 1 million barrels, having produced about 1 million barrels per day in the preceding months. Airtel Africa recorded a drop in its net profit, with Nigeria leading its revenue growth for the annual financial period covering April 2022 and March 2023. The Bharti Airtel subsidiary saw its profit after tax decline by $5 million and 6% to $750 million at the end of March 2023, failing to surpass the $755 million posted during the preceding 12 months period. According to the annual financial statements, Airtel Africa increased the firm's revenue by 11.5% year-on-year, expanding to $5.25 billion in turnover during the period in review, against the $4.71 billion generated the previous year. The Nigerian market, where Airtel has 60.3 million active subscribers for telephony services and 41.89 million internet users, contributed largely to the growth, followed by East African subscribers and the Francophone nations. It's time for the Nigerian stock market report. Today is the last trading day of the week, and the bulls closed the week's trades. The benchmark All-Share Index eased up 53.38, a total of 1.417 billion shares and 5,527 deals, corresponding to a market value of 10.98 billion naira were traded. Compared with yesterday's trades, today's data shows 197% improvement in volume and 110% improvement in turnover. The current market cap is 28.4 trillion naira. In aggregate, 118 listed equities participated in trading appreciation, closing at 33 naira 75 kobo per share. C&I Leasing came out last with an end-of-day price appreciation of 9.86% at 3 naira 20 kobo per share. Fidelity Bank recorded the highest volume of 943 million traded shares. This is all on business news. I'm back to Xavier Roberts for the rest of the news.
Many thanks, Blyden. Still to come in the news. FIFA builds 424 million naira mini stadium in Kebbi. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned. We move on now to health, where the World Health Organization WHO has declared that the multi-country outbreak of the Mpox virus, which began around a year ago, was no longer a public health emergency of international concern. The WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus said this while speaking to journalists in Geneva, Switzerland. The GG said there had been more than 87,000 cases of Mpox, with 140 deaths with testing capacity and ability to respond to future outbreaks quickly. Still in health, an epidemiologist, Dr. Japhet Olubogi, has appealed to all levels of government to strengthen health systems against the widespread occurrence of infectious diseases in Nigeria. Olubogi made the call in an interview with newsmen in Lagos State. He said that the strengthening of health systems in Nigeria would also enhance epidemic response and health indices in the country. According to the WHO's report, stated that Nigeria recorded 557 confirmed cases and 73 deaths from diphtheria in the last 4 months. Now in sports, the World Football Governing Body FIFA has built a mini stadium in Benin, Kebbi, capital of Kebbi State. FIFA disclosed this in a statement. Federation NFF and supported by the FIFA Forward program. The NFF representative in Kebbi State, Abubakar Ladan, said the aim of the project is to develop football in the state. He noted that the 7 states in the northwestern region, Kebbi has the largest number of amateur teams. Still in sports, Al Nassr is preparing an official bid to sign captain team coach Dinko Jalicic is currently in charge of the Saudi Pro League club. The Riyadh-based side is expected to appoint a new manager in the summer. According to journalists Rudy Galetti, Al Nassr is preparing an offer for Allegri, who coached Ronaldo during his previous stint at Juventus. Reports say when Ronaldo arrived at Juventus back in 2018 from Real Madrid, Allegri was the man in charge of the old lady. Meanwhile, the Portugal captain played 44 matches under Allegri, scoring 28 goals and registering 11 assists. In football, Manchester City's Erling Haaland has scooped the Football Writers Association Men's Player of the Year award in his first season. Haaland won by a large margin after, according to reports, Arsenal's Bukayo Saka won second place, Martin Odegaard third place, while Kevin De Bruyne of City was fourth, and Manchester United's Marcus Rashford came fifth. On entertainment news, rising South African singer Tyler has named Nigerian Grammy Award-winning singer Thames, the late American king of pop Michael Jackson, and Barbadian American singer Rihanna as her mentors. She said the trio inspired her to become a musician. She disclosed this in a video posted on TikTok recently. She also disclosed that Wizkid, Rema, and Ira Starr are the most popular Afrobeats artists in South Africa. Still on entertainment, the family of American actor Jamie Foxx has reacted after concerns were raised about the thespian's health. Recall that reports had emerged that family and loved ones calmed frayed nerves, claiming that the 55-year-old is stable and not in a life-threatening situation. Now, many still longed to hear from the family. In an Instagram post his family purportedly posted on his profile, they appreciated the fans of the singer for their prayers and thanked Nick Cannon for hosting the show Beat Shazam for Jamie. And lastly, on entertainment tonight, the Cinema Exhibitors Association of Nigeria (SEAN) has said it generated 566 million naira from tickets sold across the country in April. The national chairman of SEAN generated in April compared with March. According to him, for the month of March, 441 million naira revenue was generated and 220,781 viewers visited the cinemas in April, as against 174,071 viewers in March. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe. Wishing you a terrific night rest. Happy weekend.